For those that don't know, Undertale is a 2D RPG that was created by indie game designer Toby Fox, a video game developer and composer that graduated from Northeastern University. Undertale came out in 2015 and became a huge indie breakout title with over 3 million sales on Steam by the end of 2018, and currently has a 96% approval rating on Steam during the production of this video. This success was partially because of the memes such as Sans from Undertale or the Megalovania theme, but the game rose in popularity because of Undertale's charm, thematic explorations, and strong emotional appeal. But how did Undertale appeal to players' emotions so effectively? In this video essay, I'll address Fox's excellent use of semiotics and how they bolster emotional appeal through visuals and diverting expectations. An important aspect of Undertale is its inspiration from the Earthbound series. Earthbound, developed by Ape and HAL Laboratories, was an RPG series that was popular in the early 90s for its charm and goofiness. This is very important for those who are familiar with the RPG category and Earthbound games when we talk about genre. Greg Smith highlights in what media classes really want you to discuss that genre plays a large role in readers' initial perception of a media before they interact with it. Those who are familiar with RPGs will already have experience with some of the core mechanics, such as turn-based combat, random encounters, and of course, spamming through dialogue. These basic assumptions are critical to Undertale's charm and also its success and emotional impact. The random encounters are minimized substantially, except for in True Lab, but we don't need to talk about that. Even the dialogue is charming and hilarious, making it hard to skip through without feeling FOMO. Undertale takes steps to make turn-based combat feel less like spam this OP move, like in Pokemon, and more interactive by actually dodging the attacks enemies throw at you. And what icon do you use to dodge these attacks? A red heart, the classic symbol for both love and vitality. Here we can finally dive into semiotics. Semiotics is the study of understanding signs and symbols through interpretation. The interpretation can vary based on cultural, religious, and experiential lenses. But the three basic types of signs in semiotics are icons, something that depicts the physical object, like a ball showing a ball, an index, which points or refers to something else, like a smoke sign indicating fire. We know that when there's smoke, there's certainly fire. And lastly, we have symbols, which are the most complex. A symbol is characterized by its learned connection. No one understands immediately that this double hump, roughly rhombus shape represents the heart until they are conditioned after seeing it repeatedly. But why does Undertale use a heart as your cursor? At a basic level, it represents your health. When you get hit, your HP is affected, so it makes sense. I'd argue there's also a deeper meaning connected to the soul. Let's look at the first fight against Flowey. In the conversation, Flowey refers to your heart as a soul, the culmination of your being. Out of all the lies that Flowey says, this seems genuine. For example, during the genocide route, when you kill Toriel, her heart eventually breaks, a sign that her soul is lost. This is furthered by the climactic fight with Asgore. A soul is needed to open the gate, implying you need to kill Asgore to open the portal. So what's being said here? Even in a world filled with monsters who seem intimidating and often attack you relentlessly, they still have a soul, and at the end of the day, they still deserve mercy just like a human. A common criticism for RPGs old and new is that the decisions you make ultimately don't have an impact on the game. For example, in Skyrim, after avoiding execution by a freak dragon attack, the player is given the choice of escaping the city with the Imperials, those sentencing them to the earlier execution, or the rebel Stormcloaks. Regardless of the player's decision, they are still allowed to align with either faction and venture to the town of Riverwood post-escape. This illusion of choice often leads to underwhelming stories and limits how much the player can roleplay in a game designed to be roleplayed. Because of this stigma in RPGs, Undertale can feel like a shocking wake-up call to veterans of the genre. In Undertale, you play as a little girl that has fallen down a hole into the world of monsters, and you ultimately decide how the game ends through your actions while trying to escape. There are three possible endings: the pacifist route, where you spare every monster, the neutral route, where you both kill and spare monsters, and the genocide route, where you kill every monster. This choice in game design makes every fight feel important, and not just another arbitrary encounter. But how does this tie into semiotics? The Undertale interface is similar to many other RPG interfaces. RPG series such as Pokemon, Final Fantasy, and Earthbound have a similar user interface of a fight option, a bag option, a team option, and an option to flee. In Undertale, you have a fight option, an action option, an inventory option, and a unique mercy option. Each option has an image next to the text that generally indicates what the option does. Fight has a sword, act has sound waves and generally relates to talking to the monster. The item option has a satchel, and the mercy option has a jagged X. These are a mix of all three of the common signifiers we talked about earlier. The sword icon connects the idea of war or killing the monster and resembles a physical sword. The sound waves of act connotate communication, an indexical signifier of talking. The satchel icon represents getting an item and shows what an actual bag would look like, and the X in the mercy option is a multi-layered symbol. Mercy is usually seen as a noble or forgiving act and is sometimes seen with a heart as a sign of compassion. However, this X seems to imply the opposite. When you try to mercy a monster, if you fail to spare it in that turn, you are at its mercy as it attacks you. This furthers the ideology that it's either kill or be killed, as many enemies will taunt you for trying to spare them. This is a much more active choice than the run option in other RPGs and is the main tool in the pacifist ending. I also don't think it's a coincidence that when you hover over the mercy option, the ragged X turns into a heart, suggesting that by offering mercy you are striking them directly in the heart and making a connection of humility between the two different species.